Vitiate the quorum call.
Without objection.
Madam President, as we speak, negotiations are ongoing between the Iran and the P5+1 countries regarding one of the greatest threats to global security today, and that is a potentially nuclear-capable Iran. If both sides reach a final negotiated agreement, this body will have to consider whether the agreement truly prevents Iran from becoming a nuclear state or whether it paves the way for the leading state sponsor of terror to obtain a nuclear weapon. Agreeing to a bad deal would pose a serious threat to the national security of the United States, to Israel, and our other allies. We cannot take this decision lightly, and we shouldn't base our votes on the legacy of the president. We will be dealing with the consequences of this potential agreement long after President Obama leaves office. There are specific terms of any final agreement that are vital to preventing Iran's nuclear weapons capability. 100% certainty is impossible in matters of intelligence, particularly with a regime like Iran's that has a history of being less than forthright about its nuclear program. In fact, on June 21st, the Iranian parliament voted to bar inspectors from military sites. And as they were passing this resolution to bar inspectors from military sites, they were chanting, "Death to America." And let us not forget that Iran is the leading state sponsor of terrorism in the world. It is critical that the International Atomic Energy Agency be able to conduct extensive inspections at all military facilities, including unannounced inspections, to ensure that Iran is upholding its commitments. A final deal must ensure that we have verifiable evidence that Iran is complying with the terms of the agreement before lifting sanctions. A final deal must permit international inspections to occur anytime, anywhere. And a final deal must require Iran to disclose and dismantle its nuclear infrastructure, its uranium stockpile, and all other aspects of its nuclear program as specified in 6 UN Security Council resolutions. A final deal must ensure Iranians never get a nuclear weapon. And if Iran does violate those terms, the deal must guarantee that strong sanctions go back into place immediately. It took years to get in place the sanctions we have today. Largely because of these sanctions that Iran was forced to come to the negotiating table. The sanctions are working. I'd also like to address the notion that we either come to a deal or we resort to military action. This is a false choice. In fact, accepting a bad deal now will make military action more likely down the road. A bad deal will provide Iran with an influx of cash to continue sponsoring terrorism around the world while failing to prevent them from ultimately obtaining a nuclear weapon when this deal expires. Like so many Montanans I've heard from, I truly hope negotiations are successful. However, I'm concerned that based on the framework agreement that we've seen so far, the final agreement will ultimately fail to safeguard our national security and prevent a nuclear-armed Iran. No deal is better than a bad deal. And if the final agreement the President presents falls short of the requirements I've talked about today, I won't support it. Over the past month, we've now blown through 4 deadlines. Mr. President, it's starting to look like Groundhog Day in Vienna. Thank you. On a separate